right, and this is going to be really, really quick, guys, because I know we're all eager to get back to coffee and donuts outside. So I won't keep you from your donuts. I've got 4 slides for you, and really, it's only 3 slides because 1 repeats. But we just wanted to provide you with a very brief update on a few of the viral diseases that can affect our equine populations, especially because we have a lot of questions about vaccination in them. And so I'm going to talk briefly about West Nile first, and then we're going to discuss rabies quickly. So first of all, we'll look at West Nile. And of course, I know this isn't new, but we like to keep everybody updated on the prevalence and the disease patterns because we frequently get asked, do we still need to vaccinate for West Nile? And certainly, as you can see from the graph, we had our major outbreak in about 2003, 170 horses affected, and then since then it's really kind of decreased in numbers. This year has been, so far, and maybe we haven't got all the cases reported yet, but it's kind of been a typical year, I guess I'd say. So far we have 5 positive cases reported. But what I'd also like to point out is that actually the majority of horses don't show any symptoms. And the ones that prompt testing are the minority that actually go on to show fairly severe neurological signs. So this, of course, will much underrepresent the actual number of horses that are being infected by it, but also luckily, most of the horses that are infected don't show really severe disease. So this year, 5 horses total, and 4 of them were in the Lethbridge Tabor area. And I actually got to speak with the veterinarian. We were both attending a conference recently that dealt, I believe, with all 4 of these cases. They were all unvaccinated horses. And they all showed varying degrees of incoordination. One also had some muscle tremors, changes in attitude, and abnormal vocalization. And I believe that was the one out of the 4 that he treated that they actually ended up euthanizing. More recently, there was also 1 case reported in Brooks, and I'm afraid I don't know much information about that. But getting back to our question, do we still need to vaccinate against West Nile? Well, the virus is still out there. It's not that far away this year, and of course it's not that it's just limited to southern Alberta. It can creep further north as well, of course. And so, like I said, of the 4 horses that I know about, they were unvaccinated. So unvaccinated horses, the vaccine seems to be really quite protective, and unvaccinated horses are still at risk. The virus is still out there. We've also just done a good job of vaccinating our horses, which is in part why our incidence rate has gone down. I'd also like to point out that donkeys and mules can also be really severely affected by West Nile. So, and one more point about this, I often hear, well, my horses don't go anywhere. I don't think I need to vaccinate them for West Nile. West Nile does not depend on horse-to-horse contact. This is spread, the virus is out there, it's carried in the bird population, and is spread by blood-borne mosquitoes, especially, or blood-carrying insects, especially mosquitoes. So even if your horse goes nowhere, it is still at risk of West Nile. So that's kind of a common misconception out there. So certainly, even my retired guy who has not left the farm in 3 years, he gets West Nile as part of his yearly vaccination, and I continue to do that for him. So next, West Nile down. Oh, yep.
Do we have similar numbers, particularly the last couple of years, for that other species, humans?
I do not know them off the top of my head. Alberta Health carries those numbers, and you can actually look them up quite easily.
But they don't tell you where.
No, they don't tell you where. No.
Isn't that bad?
They need seminars like this, right?
Okay,
and like I said, I don't know much about the horse in Brooks. It was very recently reported. Actually, I just found out about it this morning, so I had to update all my slides. But anyway, any more quick questions on West Nile? Like I said, we just kind of wanted to keep you updated on if we're still seeing it or not. So we'll move on to rabies next, and I had to put a picture of that up. So I know that all the numbers are kind of small, which is why in the next slide, I've gotten rid of my pretty picture of the bat, but there's a little bit more information on this. There's been a few more questions for sure that we've been fielding from our clients because there's been a bit of press lately about the increased incidence of rabies in Alberta, and in fact there's a headline in the Edmonton Sun, I forget, it was in August, I believe, that talked about the doubling in the number of rabies cases reported in Alberta this year. So how many is a doubling in the number? Well, this year, again, updated this morning. We used to have 9 reported cases, we now have 10 as of the end of September. I don't know much about the last case. It was reported on the CFA website and it's just listed as a case. But what strikes me about them is that they're really all over southern and central Alberta, even as close as Airdrie and Kananaskis, Canmore region. We've had positive cases now. They've all been in bats, and if you ask me the difference between the self-repaired bat and western small-footed bat, I have no idea. But certainly it has been close. There's been some exposure of domestic animals. The little 1 star on this chart means that there was exposure of a cat, and the 2 star means that there's exposure of a dog. So in 3 of these cases, there was exposure of domestic animals, and those animals were being quarantined, which isn't too big of a deal if they're properly vaccinated, but if they're not, it is a much bigger deal. So is this truly an increased rate of rabies? Alberta usually reports somewhere around 2 to 4 positive cases. Again, these are usually in bats every year, so if we've got 10, we've got more than a doubling, so the Edmonton Sun is not lying. But it's 10 cases, and certainly compared to some other jurisdictions like Ontario and whatnot, it's not nearly as high as their prevalence level out there. But does that mean we need to worry about our horses with this? I mean, horses don't go out and catch bats, so they maybe don't have the same level of exposure as our dogs and cats do, but a bat can come by and bite them. I mean, it can also be carried in skunks and foxes, and I just mostly speak about bats because that's what we've been detecting it in Alberta specifically. We have had positive cases in dogs as recently as 2010 and 2006. And we've had some clinical cases in cats. One in 2010 as close as Cremona. So it's in the area for sure. It's interesting too, we certainly don't see, Alberta hasn't reported a case of equine rabies in the past 11 years, I think it is. And it's a little interesting if we compare to Saskatchewan, which I didn't know when I went to vet school, but they will have 1 to 3 positive equine cases every single year. And I would have vaccinated my horse when I went up to Saskatchewan if I'd known that, but if we want to kind of compare how many cases they usually have, total reported cases like in bats and skunks and all that kind of stuff, usually somewhere about 20, maybe, and they'll have 1 to 3 equine cases. We've had 10 cases in Alberta. That doesn't necessarily mean that we'll have the same level of horse cases. But again, any mammal is susceptible to rabies. Any mammal can be infected by it. So the virus is out there. It is in our area for sure. So should we vaccinate for this? It's always been an interesting question, and around here it has not been the norm. We just haven't seen as many equine cases of rabies, so it hasn't been really a pressing need. If you went to Ontario, they vaccinate their horses all the time. It's just one of the standards. It is a very good vaccine. It's a very good, they call it a very good immunogen, which means that the body's immune systems respond really well to it. So even in the first year, you only have to give 1 dose. But it is no booster, but it is a yearly vaccine, and it has to be administered by a veterinarian. And the reason for that is mostly so that they can track and be sure that that particular horse has been vaccinated, not just the owner picked up 5 vaccines and they have 10 horses and which one's got it, right? It's actually not that expensive. It's probably our cheapest vaccine, I think. It's really quite inexpensive. So we have it in the area, we vaccinate our dogs and cats. No, we don't have a high incidence of rabies in horses, but I mean, it's the public health significance of this and the potential exposure of any humans to an infected horse that really kind of makes us think it might be a good idea. So, yeah, got a question?
So, like we use you guys can give our horses shots. Is that something I'm getting automatically, or should we go, hey?
We will always be thrilled to vaccinate your horse for rabies. It's something we've been discussing a lot lately, and especially with more cases, because we encourage people to do it, but very few people take us up on it. So it's something we need to know in advance, basically, is what I'm saying, and we will happily vaccinate your horse, but we do need to kind of know in advance.
What's the cost for that?
What's that?
What's the cost roughly for that?
I think it's about $25. Something like that. If you
not
could call
part-
Marge, during office hours, she could give you the exact total, but it's
It's
not.
not part of the 5 or 6 way, is it?
It is not part of any of the 4-way, 5-way, 6-way, anything like that. It is only as its own standalone vaccine. Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions for me? Okay. Donut time?
Yeah.
Okay.